fellow Toastmasters, Mr. President. My name is Hui and I'll be doing my icebreaker speech today. So actually my title is 3 Strengths That Turn into Weaknesses, and just nice, it fits nicely into the topic, which is obstacles to opportunities. Just that it's the opposite. Opportunities to obstacles. So while I was preparing for this icebreaker speech, I asked myself, how can I describe myself in 3 words that would be interesting and relatable to everyone in the room? So I came up with 3 strengths. But as I dwelt upon these 3 strengths, I realized that I'm so good at my strengths. So good until it becomes a weakness. So how is that possible? Let me share with you my story today of how my strengths became my weakness. So firstly, do you have a friend in your life who is not afraid to tell you the truth, that you need to know, but you don't want to hear? The one that does not hesitate to tell you that your dressing is off today, or the one who does not hesitate to say that the partner that you just got into a relationship with is not very good for you. The kind who are unafraid to say the truth, even when it can come across as blunt and hurtful. And yet somehow, you keep going back to this person for advice. You keep going back to this friend and you like this person and you value his words even more. So this is the complete opposite of me. I try to remain neutral and politically correct because I don't want to offend anybody and I want to stay in the good books of everyone. I am nice, which is what I thought was a strength. But instead, I end up only saying things that people want to hear and not what they need to hear. And over time, I realized that because of this, my words get valued less and my credibility is diluted, and being nice has actually become a weakness. Secondly, have you heard of the phrase that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen more and talk less? I pride myself on being a very good listener. So good that I can sit through a meeting and not utter a single word. So that's listening, isn't it? I thought I was doing it right until I realized that I was being an enabler to my friend's bad behavior. I have this friend who is grappling with mental health issues, and she would resort to harmful methods. She will lash out, she will say untruths, and she will become physical. So I thought I was helping her by being there, listening to her, letting her vent. But as time passed by, I realized that this behavior did not stop. And she even expected others around her to behave in the same way as I do, instead of calling her out and telling her that it's not the right way to behave. So my listening to her had actually signaled to her that her actions can be tolerated and have led to a worse state than she was before. So once again, my strength of being a good listener has once again become a weakness. So thirdly, I would say that I have a lot of empathy. I can easily identify with people and see from their point of view. But again, I take this one step too far, where I can understand both sides too well until I cannot take a stance. So this is especially true in the workplace. In my previous place, I was from operations, and there was a tension between the operations team and the business team. The business team will always want longer deadlines. I want to do it at the last minute, while the operations team will always be pushing back, saying there's no bandwidth, we cannot have it at the last minute because of other deadlines. So when the business team comes to me and say, can you accept this instruction which has been past the deadline? I will be able to understand because clients, it's not their fault, it's the client's fault. They give the instructions late, their bosses are pushing them, they do not want the last minute instructions as well. So I'll be like, okay, I understand you, I will do it for you. But when I bring this to my boss turned around and say, no, we cannot accept, because once we start accepting, the business people will think that that is the current SOP, that is the current deadline instead of the previous earlier deadline, and they will start expecting later deadlines, they will start giving later instructions, and it will affect the whole workflow. And the responsibility will be on us if we miss the late deadline. So after listening to my boss, I'll be like, okay, I understand that too. Then I come to a standstill. What should I do now? And it becomes a problem when I cannot take a stance. So the phrase that says that if you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything, this is especially true. Yes, and in conclusion, the icebreaker has really been a good reminder for me to recalibrate my strengths and weaknesses. Because in most of the cases, it's not about whether it's right or wrong, but rather in finding the balance of when to do, what to do, when to say this, when not to say that, when to listen, when not to listen, and when to take a stance. So just like how strengths can become weaknesses, weaknesses can also become strengths. And that is where I'll be working on. Thank you very much.